Okay, so this is going into the first set of my squats at 235 pounds, doing it for 5 reps. One thing I've kind of noticed going into this and starting is that whenever before I start the rep, my hip position is pretty good. But starting out, I tend to be a little bit lazy on the lockouts. My hips never fully lock out until I get towards the end of the set on the fourth, sometimes even the fifth rep. It's a little odd to me, and I think part of it might be a lack of a warm up, or at least an adequate warm up. One thing I find kind of hard to work with, at least for me, is that when I'm warming up, um, I either warm up too little or too much. It's hard to me to find a good middle ground. But for the most part, what usually ends up happening is that towards the end of my second set or going into my third, everything starts cleaning up. I've kind of acclimated to the weight. I know this has been a consistent theme for my workouts and my development of my strength over time, over the past couple of years that I've been doing this. Especially noticeable comparing the previous set to this set right here. In this one, you can see that my positioning is a lot better once I get the bar off the rack. Here's my overall hip position. I don't have as much of the anterior pelvic tilt. Everything locks out better. It's still a little bit lazy in the lockout, but you can see the movement overall is easier. So I'm not sure what it is to that, what I could do to change my workouts, or my warm-ups rather. Um, Kind of what I'm doing right now is a few sets open bar and then building up weight, 45, 50 pounds at a time until I get close to my working weight. Right now I'm stopping at just a set of 5 with 185. Maybe I should add a second set, kind of see how that feels with the warm-ups. Though I'm kind of hesitant to do that now before I finish this peaking phase, and then back the weights back down, where I might be better off with a second warm-up set to get myself used to it again, instead of right now, where I'm at the very end of this phase, uh, ending next week. And adding that might be just too much work for getting that in there. Going on to the final set of squats, it moved all right. I really don't have too many complaints. It's 235. It's been a while since I've done a weight this heavy. Um, my best 5x5 for squats is 280. And I did that in a period last year in May. Um, but shortly after I did that, I ended up tearing my shoulder. Um, and it was a debilitating process of getting back into being able to use it. I had a lot of trouble bearing weight, and so I had to really take a lot of time off of powerlifting and kind of being able to do a lot of these compound movements. Um, Going into my overhead press, uh, do my best to do strict presses. Sometimes when I get a little tired, it will slip into a bit of a push press, but fortunately, this workout session, they were all strict presses. Um, specifically the first through the third sets. I believe going to set four, it gets a little wobbly. Um, but, from here, pretty good setups, strong on the chest, straight up, no issue there. Not a lot of wobble going up, and it's a strong lockout with that. The only thing that I know that I do tend to cheat once I get a little tired is the eccentric motion. So whenever I'm bringing the weight back down, sometimes I'll just kind of let it crash into the chest if I'm tired, and I, do my best to try to avoid that. But if you're tired, sometimes that desire to do it properly can go out the window. Um, Outside of that, though, I'm fairly happy with this. It is getting a little difficult. My max strict press set of 5, I think, is like 130, or 135. Um, I can push press 165, with a bit of work. Um, but in terms of strict pressing, which is what I really want to focus on, it's never been super strong for me, and I really do want to make that stronger. Um, I've always felt that a strong overhead press to me is a lot more impressive than a strong bench press. But right now, it's just kind of a secondary motion to me. I'm not really too concerned with pushing the limits on this. It's something I just want to kind of add in to kind of strengthen my shoulders and my traps as I'm working out um, with my legs and my back. The fifth set right here, this one was a bit of a grind. The first 4 reps, they move, they start to slow down as I'm going through because I'm focused on crank out the first rep, get the second, get the third, and starting to slow down, fight for the fourth and get that through. A little bit of push there. Held it, and I brought it back to the chest, waited a second, caught my breath, and then pushed out the fifth rep. Um, we'll see how things go next Thursday, doing 110 for 5x5. Should be doable. Probably going to be hard, but I'm going to be deloading after the week after this. Going into block pulls, these weren't that bad. I got a little too overzealous at the beginning of this first set. Um, did a couple touch and go reps, which is not ideal. Um, but this exercise isn't really an off the floor exercise. What I'm doing this for is to target my hips as opposed to um, how you would eventually start a deadlift off the floor, going from that starting motion. My hips, my lockout, have always been kind of a weaker portion of the lift for me. So being able to specifically target these, and I do that once a week, really helps with the lockout, and it has made it a lot easier for me to finish a weight. If I can get it off the ground, I can lock it out. And so being able to do that has been a lot better for me overall with the lift. Um, I haven't hit a wall with this yet, so I'm still just kind of pushing it until I kind of figure out where I'm at. Um, right now it says 355, nothing super heavy. I can pull this pretty easily, just using a hook grip off the floor for, 1 rep. But I'm using straps here because I'm not really concerned with grip. Again, it's more just about working on the hips and the lower back so that way the lockout is a lot smoother. Um, and I do take a lot of care to make sure that I reset my position with my lower back and feel that I'm in a good spot with my hips before I pull the weight. Um, simply because it's a bit of weight. I'm certainly not like the strongest person in the world, but for me it's kind of heavy. Um, but the goal is with this I have this set um, right now 80 pounds over my deadlift. It's been a consistent mark above it just because it's been a pretty good difference in terms of what I'm pulling daily, or not daily, but weekly on my deadlifts. To be able to get the hips prepared and ready to pull a weight, that I will be hitting at a later date. I started these at 305 6 weeks ago, and I'm at 355 right now. Um, Not 6 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago. Um, and then just slowly kind of working my way through it. Um, right now, how I'm kind of structuring it is that the deadlifts go up 10 pounds a week. Um, so at the beginning of this cycle, I would have started at 335, 345 the second week, 355 this week, and then 365 next week. After I finish this cycle for the 4 weeks, I'll drop the weight down by about 15 pounds, so about half of what I grew, and then proceed up to another 10 pounds. So I'd start at 340, then do 350, 360, 370. Um, or not 340, I apologize, 350. So 350, 360, 370, 380 as my uh, weights for that cycle. And then, my conventional deadlift would be falling behind that. Right now, this week, I pulled 275 for 5. Next week's going to be 285, and then it'll drop down to 270. And this is all kind of with the aim of slowly developing a 500-pound deadlift. I want to be able to pull that conventionally. I am fine using straps to do that lift. Maximal lift is always going to be, difficult. You're going to have difficulties with the technique. It'd be cool if I could pull it with hook grip, but that's going to be further down the line. I probably have to get my strap deadlift to like 550 or 560 to be able to pull a hook grip 500-pound deadlift and just kind of work on grip in general. Something I do practice, but with what I do with deadlifting, I get quite a bit in. But without getting too far off the mark, um, the block pulls were fairly easy. Again, nothing that was too much of an effort. Uh, Sometimes you just got to get ready, get in the headspace for it. and just do the reps. Um, One thing that I was prone to whenever I was first starting these was overextension of the back, and you can kind of see that a little bit in the last set where it's a little overarched. But for the most part, it's a lot better than what it used to be when I started. But overall, I was kind of happy how things went today. And then we'll, touch base again on Tuesday and go from there.